doing research is hard work. And although you may think in academia that there are enormous rewards for being successful in doing good research, I do not believe that the extrinsic rewards nearly compensate for the amount of effort that's involved. So, comma, I punctuate these things for you too. So, comma, my counsel is to, especially to young faculty and beginning faculty, work on a variety of projects of various types, but always make sure you're working on some projects you find intrinsically interesting. Intrinsically interesting. The reason why my career spans 40 years or more, the reason why is I've always found time to work on some projects that I found intrinsically interesting and satisfying to work on, which doesn't mean that I didn't work on targets of opportunity, that somebody comes up with a data set and they say, gee, you know, we could crank out this and JAMS would just love it, or something like that. I've done that, but you're never going to continue year after year after year in this profession and working on research if you expect your only rewards to be those that come from the outside, either in terms of extra salary or a chair or what have you. I think if you're going to be productive, you should find at least a significant portion of what you're doing absolutely fascinating. Now, in my early days, I did a lot of work on franchising and channels of distribution, franchising within channels of distribution. Frankly, it was a fascinating time in my career. But there came a time when I knew all I wanted to know about franchising. And what a delightful occupation we have that you can shift gears and go in other directions. That's neat. So, how do you allocate your time? Allocate your time, make sure you always find time for working on some projects you find intrinsically interesting. I found the Little Green Book. The Little Green Book was, when I was at Wisconsin, and the Little Green Book, very first version of the marketing theory book, which was 150 pages, took me 2 years to write it, all right? I tried to get the business school to give me some release time one summer to do that. And the answer was no. There's no future here. No one would ever be interested in this. Absolutely not. Well, I did it anyway. I just did it anyway. Why? Because I found it interesting. I found it interesting to take the literature from philosophy of science and to apply it in a systematic way to marketing, which had not been done before. Okay? And I viewed that as being a deficiency in our discipline, that we hadn't taken the work that had been done in philosophy of science before and apply it. I was interested in it, and therefore I did.
We can take one more question.
One. Adele?
Thank you very much. I've been looking at the history of marketing thought, theory formation, as well as identity confirmation. I think I found those three things. The history of marketing thought is not being taught in many schools.
He's saying, because those of you that get, he's saying that we're no longer teaching the history of marketing thought in our doctoral seminars.
That's necessary to understand the theory and evolve the theory. Okay? In the meantime, there are, for example, Lush and Targo model that has to do with identity of the field. It has nothing. It doesn't have as much to do with it. So there is a history of thought, there is a theory formation, and there is identity confirmation. And these are going, you know, they're kind of triangles, they feed each other.
In case you're not aware of it, there is now a journal called the Journal of Historical Research and Marketing. And the Journal of Historical Research and Marketing bifurcates historical research into two areas. One area is the history of marketing practice. So it does go into Wanamaker and the history of marketing practice, which I think is very valuable. The second part is the history of marketing thought. How did, where did, is it, how did the notion of product differentiation and market segmentation come about? History of these concepts and so forth. If you've not seen the journal, I encourage you to read it. Does Springer publish that? No, I think it's Elsevier. That other one. It could be Elsevier, I'm not sure. But we're not teaching a history of marketing thought, and as a consequence, I think we are in our doctoral seminars, and this is a problem for our discipline. And those who are interested in our discipline and how our discipline can progress and prosper and become even more influential, I think should be concerned with it as well. Yes.
The journal, but it goes into a direction of the fragmentation of the field, not the integration.
Bill Wilkie is going to beat fragmentation over the head for you, and so I don't have to respond to that. Manjit.
Well, thank you very much.
Can you mute me now so that?
It's fine. Thank you, Shelby. I really enjoyed Shelby's keynote talk, and just going to remind you, I know there were two other hands that were up for questions at the end of the program today. We're going to have Q&A sessions after each panel. Members have spoken, but at the end of the program, I've allocated about 40 to 45 minutes where all the speakers would be requested to come in the front so we can actually have an open discussion. So I hope you're taking good notes. So if there's there's a burning question that you haven't had a chance to ask, I hope there will be an opportunity, I think, to have a broader discussion at the end of the program today. Our program is divided into three panels. The first panel focuses on a critical assessment of theoretical progress in marketing. Adela Ansari's question about whether we are not teaching historical thought that is leading to a lack of integration, perhaps a lack of appreciation from some of a newer generation of students and new scholars who are coming into a field. What is actually the status of theoretical progress in our field, which I thought is a kind of an important question for an afternoon like this. So I invited two people whose papers I've enjoyed reading very much. Ajay Kohli is the former editor of Journal of Marketing. He is the Gary T. and Elizabeth R. Jones Professor of Marketing at Georgia Tech. Many of you are familiar with his work on market orientation, which was recognized for its long-term contribution, long-term impact on our field. He's among the 100 most cited authors in our field, and two of the articles that Ajay has written have been recognized to be among the top 10 most cited articles over a period of 25 years. Our second speaker, Bill Wilkie, I've enjoyed reading his papers as well. Bill has been very active over the years in our field, and one of the things I really like about Bill's work is that he has consistently, right from his presidency of ACR to his work with the FTC, and over the years, the work that he's done, he has always reminded us, to think broadly, particularly the impact of what we do in marketing as scholars and the role of marketing itself on societal issues. With these two speakers, I believe you'll have an opportunity, I think, to at least try and make an effort, perhaps, to answer this question, and the question being the extent to which we have or have not made progress with respect to theory development in marketing. So please join me in welcoming Ajay as the first speaker. Are you wired yet? Could we have a lavalier, please, for the next speaker?
All right, so let me try this again. Good afternoon, everyone. Come on now. You give a resounding good afternoon to Shelby. Good afternoon. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, very good. All right, so I'm gonna sort of the premise of my talk or the point of my talk really is to suggest that we in marketing have not generated enough of our own theories, or as I like to call them, indigenous theories or organic theories, but rather we in marketing have relied a heck of a lot on borrowing theories from other disciplines and applying them to suit our context. And my sort of point of it all is going to be that we as a discipline and we as individual faculty will be better off if we try to develop indigenous theory. So that's going to be my sort of main point. So I've given the punchline. Those of you who want to leave can leave, and I'll carry on. No, I'm just kidding. Stay. Okay, so I want to cover three things really. First of all, what exactly is theory? We talk about theory, we talk about theory, we talk about theory. But what is theory? And if you look for definitions of theory, what exactly is a theory? It's not very, very clear, and I'll offer you hopefully a useful definition of what a theory is. Second thing I'd like to talk about is the difference between theory application and theory construction. So those two are separate things, and I'll make the point that we've been engaged a lot in theory application and not quite as much on theory construction. And I'll sort of walk you through that a little bit. And that has to do with the often heard phrase that marketing is an applied discipline. And I'd like you to think about that and what that means and what implications it has for theory. And then the last thing I'd like to do is share some thoughts on what exactly is constructing organic theory mean? Well, what does that mean? So those are the three things I'd like to sort of talk about. How much time do I have, Manjeet? 20 minutes. Okay, great. So let's start at the beginning. What exactly is a theory, right? So that's my slide. What is a theory? I'm looking for volunteers now. You just heard Shelby talk about, and by the way, I have just amazing respect and regard for him and the books he has written, especially on theory. I have learned tremendous amount from his books. And if you haven't read his books on theory, I strongly, strongly urge you to read them. They're tremendous pieces of work. All right, so back to our question. What exactly is a theory?